Today we're fusing our way through Pokemon Infinite Fusion with only Steel-type Pokemon. In my opinion, Steel is one of the coolest typings in the entirety of Pokemon, with examples like Dialga, Metagross, Scizor, and many more. So today we're fusing all of these powerhouses together to create the perfect team and sweep through the Kanto region with some of the coolest fusions I have personally ever seen. So you're definitely going to want to stick around until the end for the best ones. And the only real rule we have is that the Pokemon that I fuse must always have the Steel typing. Besides that, anything goes. Let's try to hit an insane milestone of 15,000 likes, and with all of that out of the way, let's bang our way through Infinite Fusion with only Steel types. First up, I randomized all of the wild Pokemon and gym leaders as well as trainers so that I can run into more Steel types and the encounters with all the bosses are more interesting. This way the champion could have a Caterpie fusion or he could have an Arceus fusion. We'll just have to wait and see. Since I named myself Steven, my rival is going to be the worst champion of all time, Wallace. I then kept on resetting my game until I got myself a Steel type starter, which was this Clefterra, an amazing looking mon with a tower on its back. A very strong Steel and ground type with the Prankster ability, so if we get moves like Leech Seed or Spikes, we can always set those up. Our rival starts off with a Gardevoir fusion. I don't know what can be more fitting, but don't underestimate this Gardevoir because it has an amazing typing and some great stats to boot. Despite it being a higher level than me, I still came out on top with Fairy Winds because all of its moves were not very effective on me. I once again picked up the balls from the Professor and ran into my second Steel type, Age of Flame. And it's so great that we found an Aegislash, because if you don't know already, it makes for some of the coolest fusions out there. Everything can turn into a Mii sword fighter now. We do our second rival battle, but he just added a Nidoja to his arsenal, so we just Fairy Wind through his team once again. No more Steel type encounters were found, so we immediately head over to Pewter City and challenge Brock. I know that Steel type isn't known for going fast, but we're speedrunning this. I also made sure that all of the gym leaders' types remain the same, so even though Brock's Pokemon are randomized, they will still have the rock typing. As you can see from this first Pokemon, Sandnix. But it's pretty easy when you have an Excaliflame with Swords Dance, as we slashed through both of his Pokemon without any resistance. Straight after, I ran into a trainer with a Volca Queen, and I just thought this thing looked amazing. But you should also let me know what your favorite Steel type of all time is. Mine's probably Dialga. We then get the rock smashing TM from the guy that collects rocks, but instead of smashing rocks with it, we smash Team Rocket's machines. Before going to Cerulean City and challenging my rival there, I did some more Aegislash fusions like Aegigon, both of them not really looking all that amazing. But at least Aegidos is super overpowered. I also ran into the biggest monstrosity ever, Parados, straight out of an alien shooter game if you ask me. Now let's once again show Wallace who the best champion is. His Roan was nothing I couldn't handle. Lockjaw was able to set up 2 curses, then hit 2 Razor Leaves to take it out, while taking some uproars in the process, but because I'm a Steel type, that doesn't really affect me too much. Koffavor almost finished me off with a Magical Leaf and a Hex, but I managed to hang on and counter back with 2 Razor Leaves again to force out Xados, who of course finishes me off with Nightshade. But Aegidos had the right moves for the last 2 Pokemon, Aerial Ace and Sacred Sword. On the bridge, I ran into probably the coolest Steel type we've seen yet, Scartile. And honestly, I'm just hoping I ran into a Skarmory and a Sceptile myself so I can make this. Before we make our build stop, I grab a couple more Steel types, namely Mano, which will give me access to Mawile, a Hauntang, which will of course give me access to Metang, but this thing is not a Steel type, so sadly enough we're not going to be able to use it. So we're going to have to find a new partner for Metang. And finally Zampmori, which I immediately reversed fused to create a Steel type, but it doesn't look as cool to be honest. I also fused my favorite boy Swampert with Mawile to create this monstrosity, but I absolutely love him. I wouldn't put my arm or any body part near that mouth though. I also ran into a Shedlix, which was a Pokemon that I had nothing for, because it has Wonder Guard, and none of my Pokemon could hit it super effectively, so I was kinda stuck here until I finally trained up my AG Flame enough until it learned a fire type move to kill it. Bill then found a way to fuse himself with a Pokemon, and to be honest, you need a lot of skills to do that, which means it's time for us to look at the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. While you might not be able to fuse yourself with a Pokemon, Skillshare will allow you to learn almost anything else. If you want to learn how to draw Pokemon, there are tutorials for that. And if you're feeling down, there's literally a class on how to be happier. I mean, I'm already pretty happy with all of these steel types I've gotten so far, and because I personally learned a lot of editing tricks from Skillshare. And all of this was only possible because of the beautiful people behind it. See, most of these classes are taught by individual instructors that know what they're talking about. So you should definitely take a look at the thousands of classes Skillshare offers, but before you go over there, Skillshare is offering 1 month free to any of my viewers that use the link in the description. But for the month of April only, they are running an even better offer of 40% off your first year using my link in the description. I'll leave both links down below so you can choose the best offer for you. A huge shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, but now, time to hit back to reality as we just ran into a slow ROM, my ultimate nightmare. We do our daily gambling. I swear I am not addicted to this. I just enjoy losing money and trade for rare candies. We found another Metang fusion, but this time it was Dutang, and he comes straight out of Star Wars holding 2 lightsabers. As it turns out, the captain was locked in his room and the key was somewhere on the SSN near the storage boxes. I wonder how it got here. But as we try to go and free him, we get stopped by Wallace, who's once again ready for an ass whooping. Mapert bites Doovie. Dragashrew gets iron-headed, but then he sends out a Swampert fusion of his own, Darkperd. I try to take it out with Hammer Arm, but I don't do enough damage, and of course, get finished off by the superior Swampert fusion. Agidos then finishes it off with Sacred Sword and Iron Heads the last Pokemon Cough of War to send us over to the captain, get the HM for cut, and I know the Misty fight is not in this video, but that's because I honestly don't know where it went. It might have just surfed out of my computer files, so let's head straight to Lieutenant Surge instead. At first I thought his gym had bugged, because I kid you not, I was stuck in here talking to these barrels or trash cans or whatever they are for 20 real-life minutes straight. Even after using a scummy save strategy, I couldn't get it right, so I just re-entered the gym a bunch of times until I finally got it to work. Just to have the most anticlimactic gym battle ever as we Earthquake Duskray, Talonbuzz, and Weeping Kid into oblivion. Another easy gym badge acquired, but then we faced a trainer that was like 10 times as hard as Lieutenant Surge with his Reshidos. 2 legendary Pokemon fused together and one of them is a fire type, definitely not something my steel types were ready for. But Camper Chris eventually died once again to Lockjaw's Earthquake. On my way to Rock Tunnel, I captured a ton of interesting Pokemon, so I fused Aegislash with Typhlosion to create a Fiery Knight. I created an absolute abomination by fusing Skarmory and Typhlosion. I then found a Magnequeen in the grass, unlocking Magnezone fusions for us, which I then used to create Magnedos, but even better was Magnadon. He might not look super cool, but he is super overpowered. But honestly, Magnegar was just me in school, oblivious to everything happening around me. Magnadon then swept through most of Rock Tunnel with a little bit of bumps here and there. Of course, I captured a ton more Pokemon in Rock Tunnel, and I thought I created the best Aegislash fusion after fusing it with Garchomp. And can you blame me? This thing looks absolutely insane. But then Zekrom came out, and putting them together created possibly the strongest warrior in all of the lands, so I decided to keep it on my team for now. I know a lot of you will like Muscle. Me, personally, I don't like it all that much. It's cute, but that's about it. Melosian is straight up an alien life form, and then I ran into Pugogrigus, who was probably hiding under my bed and trying to grab my feet with those dirty hands. Spiralord was also hiding in the grass, and this thing reminds me of a monster out of Monster Hunter, and I love that it has like a cannon that fills up with Spiritomb souls, and it can probably shoot them out as well. Pokemon Tower Wallace time, and I decided to test Agerom's power, and boy is he powerful. Sacred Sword, Aerial Ace, Thunderbolt, all of these hit their Pokemon for massive damage, ultimately causing a sweep. And even with this sweep and all of these powerful new Pokemon, we apparently are no match for Team Rocket as they just take away Mr. Fuji in front of our eyes. So let's head to Celadon City sewers together with Erica and run into the biggest, the most buff Pokemon I have ever seen. Choke. Sometimes I'm happy Pokemon aren't real, to be honest. I mean, just imagine running into this Spore at night. Mr. Crime Lord himself is of course residing in the sewers too, and I don't know what it is with Duskull fusions and looking cool all the time, but Dumoth is going to have to go down by a lava plume from Magnadon. I don't know why, but Sunpix is probably one of the weakest Pokemon ever, and still it just one-shotted 2 of my Pokemon with Flamethrower. Luckily, Ageron was once again there to finish it off, just like Glagon Z? I do really love the computer freezing reference. But with this battle finished, we grab the Sylph Scope, and this leads us immediately into our next battle against Erica with grass types on her side versus my steel types. I think we're going to have the upper hand. I was so confident that I even went in with a Magnadon with half HP. So I started off by lava pluming her Separate, a Pokemon that doesn't really look all that right. Eventually even managing to burn it, but then I had to swap out my Magnadon for Scardos, who didn't even have to use a move because the burn damage just finished off Separate. I then proceeded to spam Pluck on the next Pokemon, Sunmarie, which made the battle pretty close, and her last Pokemon was a Darkvile, a super slick looking Pokemon that's ready to jump at you in the night. I just went back out into Magnadon, used Lava Plume, and boom, that was that. 4 gym badges down and out. Which means it's time to fuse some more. Skarmory combined with the Garchomp creates one of the most menacing looking Pokemon I've ever seen. He could probably also cut up your vegetables with those talons. And I found a weird combination in the Pokemon Tower, Kyochu, but I had to capture it so I could fuse with Kyogre, which I then immediately did together with Metang to create Medgar. A really clean looking design in my opinion, just no mistakes at all, very smooth. I love it. We save Mr. Fuji and get the Pokemon Flute. Funnily enough, I can't even play an instrument. But I would love to know if any of you guys play instruments, so let me know in the comments down below if you have any musical talents. I was fusing some more Pokemon and created Moblade, which definitely reminded me of Moballs. Let's hope that this thing doesn't get you when you die, because I wouldn't want to be in that coffin. Chinchou turns into an actual keychain, and once you evolve it, it actually gets a set of balls. Then on my way to Fuchsia City, we run into another really amazing Duskull fusion, Dialga. I just can't get over that Duskull is literally the best Pokemon to fuse with in this game. I did find a Dusclops of my own though, but after fusing it with Mawile, I could definitely recognize that it didn't have as cool of a fusion potential as its pre-evolution. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I also fused Mawile with Lopunny and was eagerly surprised, because I just thought it was going to be way worse than this, and I knew it was time for Koga at this point. So I once again went in with a half-health Medgar against his Golmoth. I one-shotted it with Zen Headbutt, but its next Pokemon, Zudar, kept on evading my Aqua Tails until swapping out to Ariabel, who I then took out with a Bullet Punch and an Aqua Tail. Zudar then had the opportunity to foul play and take me out, so Scarchomp finished it off with Dragon Claw, and his last Pokemon was a Magnarino, so I went for the crunches, got confused by a Supersonic, so I had to swap in Magnadon again, Earthquake, and finish off the Ninja Boy. We all know what happens in the Safari Zone. Looking for the most rare and coolest Pokemon, so I found a Probochoke. But also a Giraink, which gives me 2 steel types in one. And believe it or not, one of these 2 Pokemon makes for the most beautiful fusions you will ever see. But before we get into those, we have to capture some more gems. I found a Dialblade, which will give me access to my favorite steel type, Dialga, but also a General, and I think we all agree that Genesect is a pretty cool looking bug. I grabbed my HM for Surf, evolve my Clang into Klinklang, and Klinklang creates some absolute abominations of Pokemon like Butterclang, or turns Pokemon into sheriffs like Klinkvor. Putting it together with Volcarona creates a Cyborg Moth, and this could have absolutely been Iron Moth, which you can find in Area 0. Klinkargo is something I also really really enjoyed looking at for some reason. But the best one by far was Clinklord turning into an actual ship. But close your eyes, because otherwise you might go blind, because now it's time for the most beautiful fusions you will ever see. Jirachi combined with Machamp creates an actual genie, and my first wish would be for you to hit that subscribe button right now. This one might not be as beautiful, but Jirapass has the biggest nose on Earth. This is it combined with Volcarona. If you combine it together with Arbok, its body becomes part dark matter or different dimension. Jirajot is the most majestic bird you'll ever see. Jiragar is a teeny tiny bit scary with the eyeball in the mouth, but still has a really nice charm radiating from it. That majestic thing I just said about Pidgeot might have been a lie, because look at Jiraflame, and combining it with Drifblim creates one of those lamps you see in Chinese festivals, and it's just such a creative way to fuse them together. Combining it with the pitch black Pokemon Darkrai makes it finally light up a little bit. And Giratomb is just an alien plant that is trying to eat you. Giragon might actually be the cutest thing alive. Just look at its happy face. I mean, I'd be happy too if I looked like that. Giravore is just super majestic and ready to send you to some kind of mushroom kingdom. But my personal favorite is Giratic, because Milotic is already beautiful, and combining it with Jirachi just makes its quality shine even more. I proceeded to do some Dialga fusions, but most of them turned out pretty bad, so I guess I'll have to wait until I find a Pokemon that looks better with it. I didn't really find an amazing fit immediately with Genesect. Volcarona looked cool, Zapdos kind of looked like a Chocobo from Final Fantasy, and Proboscis just didn't have any arms. But then I fused it with Darkrai, and that created my favorite fusion of Genesect at least. I also evolved Metang into Metagross so we can get some really cool fusions with him as well. But first, let's head up to Silph Co. On my way there, I found a Pikachu Mewtwo fusion, and you betcha I took that thing with me because Mewtwo is going to shred through the competition. Before entering Silph Co, I went and fused Metagross with Gyarados to create Metados, and he's overpowered because I started the battle with Wallace on top of this company, and he shredded through his team, crunching his Hounfang. Then headbutting not his Bidoof, but Budoof. Aquatailing and bullet punching his Umptum, and I guess that Pokemon speaks for him because he is pretty dumb, because his Koffacham also doesn't survive 3 Aquatails, and his last Pokemon Jumfuric fell to 2 crunches. I'm pretty amazed with about an 8 level difference this boy managed to sweep through his team. Do keep in mind that his Pokemon weren't as good. But now we have Wallace by our side as we take on Giovanni next. The Steven and Wallace team up that nobody got but everyone wanted is about to take place. And I wish I would have had anything to say in this fight, but my Pokemon were like 7, 8 levels below all of his, and my entire team got wiped out. So I guess for now, Wallace really is the better champion, as he's the one who really defeated Giovanni, but we're going to have our redemption arc a little bit further on. Before challenging Sabrina, I did some more fusions and created the Breakfast Cannon Meta-C. Metapert was pretty mid in my opinion, nothing special about it really, and Metachamp and Metagar are also not really anything to write home about. And Armored Mewtwo also makes an appearance. I didn't really level up my team for the next battle against Sabrina, but since she has Psychic types, I decided to lead off with Darksect. Against Hypnine, this was definitely not the best start out there, and I got confused turn 1, so I once again ended up going into Magnodon and Earthquaking. Abma was no problem, but the full restore she kept on using were, because just as I'm about to take this little Firefly out, she swaps out into a Zumatur who somehow outspeeds me and kills me with a superpower. Metados comes in, crunches, and that thing is finally down. We then kill Togets with a Meteor Mash and finish up with a Bullet Punch. 2 more gym badges that we need. First, let's head to Cinnabar Island and do some more fusions after going into the mansion. I found a Mamoswine which I fused with Doublade to create a super cool looking warrior, and we found our very first cool Dialga fusion by fusing it with Venusaur. We create a Kingdom Hearts Pikachu by fusing it with Klefki, and even though I haven't played the game myself, I have heard a ton of good things about it. And with these new additions, I headed straight to the bald man with the coolest sunglasses. I even have them myself. Good thing I'm not bald though. The battle honestly starts great against this Magario with my metagross. I try to Aqua Tail it, but I of course don't one-shot it and waste some of his full restores until he swaps out into Celichick. Even though it's fused with the mythical, Torchic isn't going to take a hit well. So that's an easy one-shot. Growlithe looks like it wants to be punted, so we make a bicycle goal with an Aqua Tail. I try to take down Valzard with an Aqua Tail and a Surf, but it survives on a teeny tiny bit of HP, and that ends Metagross's reign of terror. I then use Sucker Punch with Moppert for the priority kill, but Magario is faster and once again takes me down. With Magario burned to a crisp, I bring in Scarchomp, tank a flamethrower with my Sturdy, use Dig, and because that is 4 times super effective, we win the battle against Blaine. I then traverse the water maze that I've already done 3 times, so right now I know it from the back of my head. After arriving in Mount Ember and going all the way down into the volcano, we find Giovanni and Zap Molkuno again. I know I keep on saying this battle isn't really that fair, but this time it actually went pretty well. I first started off with Metagross. I know this Intimidate isn't really doing anything because they're all special attackers, but I managed to hit the Moltres head with an Aqua Tail, then tank 2 moves in a row and then kill it the next turn with another Aqua Tail, so Metagross has already put in its work. And then bring in Magnodon to finish off the Articuno head with 2 flash cannons, and since this Zapdos has literally got nothing for me except for Ancient Power, we can finish that thing off with a couple of lava plumes, even getting a burn in the process to make it go faster. So I guess if you want to beat Zap Molkuno easily, you just need these 2 Pokemon. After doing the Giovanni Team Rocket disbandment thing yada yada yada, I talked to Moltres and managed to find myself a Marum, so we can now use Kyurem to fuse with our steel types. I tried to fuse it with Dialga after capturing it, but this thing is just not going to survive in any world. Since I didn't really find any more useful Pokemon until I battled Giovanni in his gym, I'm just going to head straight into that fight. Traptera looked amazing with like an entire coral and sandy beach on its back, but it was finally time for me to bring out Giratic with its Surf, 2-shotting it and bringing out Togafan. I also just love almost everything that's fused with Togekiss because of the color scheme it has. I then brought in Dialga to tank an Earthquake, put the elephant to sleep, set up 1 growth, and proceed to hit a flash cannon or 2 to take it down because of its Sturdy. Dicorb was definitely out of place in this gym, but it managed to hit a fissure, killing Dialga. So I brought in Darkseid instead, but it once again hit a second fissure in a row. 30% accurate, by the way. I feel like I can't even hit 2 rock slides in a row. I brought in Marum for his very first battle, went for the Ice Beam, and Digorb was down. Hortor might have been cute, but it definitely doesn't have 6 gym leader vibes, so we just take it out once again with Marum's crunches. And as his ace, he actually has a steel type of his own, Metaterra. Finally, a good Pokemon on his team. I swap in Giratic to tank a Giga Drain, try to take it out with a Surf, but don't do enough damage. It hits the Leaf Storm and takes me out. I of course then swap in my own Metagross fusion, hit another Aqua Tail, and Giovanni is no more. Wiped off the face of the earth. No more fusions until we beat Wallace one more time. And he immediately starts out guns blazing with a literal boss. I tried to test if this thing was Dragon type by using Surf, luckily it wasn't, and it just wasted a turn going for a Razor Wind. I just used another Surf to take it out and take minimal damage from the Razor Wind. And his team keeps on getting cooler. Spiritomb was also a one-shot with Surf, but also one of the scariest Pokemon I've ever seen. Dawnfree survived the Surf, countered back with an Earthquake, and as I'm about to take it out with another one, he swaps in Jinroark. So I use my swap button, use Meteor Mash, take it out, then take out the Dawnfree with Bullet Punch, Slowik with 2 Aqua Tails, and his ace Cough of War fell to a Meteor Mash and a Bullet Punch. And I just want to put it out there, Metagross is probably the most overpowered Pokemon I have found in this entire game. It just sweeps through everything. So I headed to Victory Road and captured a Galeon there, another steel type, and Empoleon is just super cool, so we're definitely going to fuse this with something new. We're also going to get rid of Metagross for this final Elite Four and Champion battle, just to see Metagross fused with something else. But now it's time to show you some of the coolest fusions I have found. Empoleon combined with Aerodactyl looks absolutely stunning. Combined with Charizard, also super cool. Then the reverse form of Gallade is one of my favorite Empoleon fusions. It looks so big and epic with its like shield and I guess sword kind of thing on its other hand. Fusing it with Wailord just makes for a goofy but strong looking, I don't even know what to call this to be honest. Kingler with Empoleon surprisingly looks kind of terrifying but also really cool. Metagross was a teeny tiny bit underwhelming, but still definitely not a bad design. I also fused it with its counterpart Infernape to create this absolute beauty. Its other counterpart Torterra also had a go, and did not disappoint in the slightest. I had no idea they could make Lapras go fast, but this looks like it could go at max speed. Mewgross is indeed gross once you realize that all of its body parts are actually Mewtwo's skin. I also decided to steal Giovanni's ace Metaterra. Dialchomp was my second favorite Dialga fusion, but this one, Dialga combined with Charizard, is possibly the best fusion sprite I have ever seen. So menacing, yet so beautiful, and I just can't get over it. This is my favorite fusion right now. But this next one is also a strong contender, Magnezone with Mewtwo, creating a cyborg with an actual electrified gun. Jirachi and Kyogre make for the most majestic fish ever, and Tyranitar and Klinklang make a character out of Minecraft. Maklang is ready to punch you in the face with its big fist and its red eyes that stare straight through your soul. Aegiqueen looks like a random NPC out of Dark Souls, and Swampert combined with Aegislash made our favorite Mudfish into a fierce-looking ninja. Gengar combined with Aegislash made a cursed sword, and the final fusion for today is Tyranitar combined with Aegislash, and this guy is going on the team. Speaking of the team, here it is, Aegitar, Dialzard, Emponape, Jirager, Magneto, and Maklang. I think these 6 powerhouses would make the Elite Four look like a cakewalk, so let's jump right into the Lorelei fight, but Ice types are not going to have a good time against me. Well, she actually started off pretty lucky against my Maklang, freezing me with Blizzard. I didn't thaw out until I only had 2 HP remaining, when I then set up a shift gear and took out Glainair with a wake up slap. I then take out Mutzel, Glaros, and Rosevile with wake up slaps too, until Deliljot comes in and takes me out. Aegitar luckily has no problem finishing it off with a single Stone Edge, and that was that. This definitely could have gone smoother, but it's time for Bruno. And he should be the one giving me the most trouble considering he has fighting types. But I have a fighting type obliterator, Magneto. I used Psychic on all of his Pokemon. None of them survived. Okay, well, maybe his Mega Gallade survived one and killed me with a close combat, but that's a little detail because once I brought in Dialazord, he went down with just a couple of flamethrowers. You're never going to believe it, but Agatha was also a sweep. I sent out Jirager, set up a couple of Calm Mines on Lamp Cargo, and just Origin Pulsed and Ice Beamed everything. I guess Jirager isn't only majestic, it's also the strongest thing on my team possibly. Now it's time for Lance, a guy that we should have no problems with whatsoever because all of his dragon types should be not very effective against my steel types. And he starts off with a Vulpix Dratini fusion. My Dialazard, of course, is going to eat that for breakfast. I try to take out his Wagon with a Roar of Time, but a Hydro Pump is super effective and that one-shots me. I bring in Jirager, set up some Calm Mines yet again on Wagon, but eventually I'm only left with 17 HP before I'm able to take it out with some Psychics. I miss an Origin Pulse on Magnegon and get taken out by Dragon Rush. With some Psychics and Flash Cannons of Magnitude, this thing is no problem because its Dragon Rushes can't really hurt me. He then has a Ferricture, and after I see that my Flash Cannon literally does no damage, I decide to swap out into Emponape. who is able to hit a Flame Wheel and a Hydro Pump, and that is it because this Feroxer just doesn't want to die. I set up a Shift Gear with my Clang the turn after, take it out with Wake Up Slap, but then Ray Rose comes out. I start off by missing a Dynamic Punch, then hit 2 Dual Chops in a row, but that isn't enough to take it out, so a Dragon Pulse finishes off my Clang. I bring in Mewtwo and try to kill with Flash Cannon, but because of the Dragon Dance that he set up, he outspeeds and once again finishes me off with Dragon Pulse. My last hope was Aegitar, so I hit a Stone Edge and he still survives. He starts thrashing about, I tank 2 hits, and then use Crunch to finally finish off Lance with my last Pokemon. What was supposed to be an easy battle turned into a deathbed for me. Now let's see if Wallace can give us a bigger challenge. Well, he starts off with Clefairy against zwiggojr. I start setting up with 2 Calm Minds, take it out with Origin Pulse, but his Aeropert puts me in a weird position with Hammer Arm, which almost finishes me off. Luckily an Origin Pulse hits, taking care of this very big threat. Spiritomb looks so amazing, but somehow I still managed to outspeed. I guess it managed to get Spiritomb speed and not Houndoom's, so we Origin Pulse. Gorgeous survives a Psychic, then heals up with a full restore while setting up a Dragon Dance and finishes me off with Flail. I swap in Empanape and start spamming Acrobatics to try and take this thing down, but he just spams 3 full restores in a row, depleting his entire stock. Empanape wasn't able to do anything else and went down to Earth Power. Magnitude then comes in, tanks another Earth Power, and counters back with Psychic to finally finish off this stupid Seahorse. I don't know what Basticus is because I turned on only custom sprites, but this is definitely not a custom sprite. As I'm about to take it out with some discharges, he swaps out into Koffavor all of a sudden, which goes down to just 2 Flash Cannons. We then finish this battle with one last Flash Cannon from our Cyborg, and that is that. We have defeated Pokemon Infinite Fusion with only Steel-type Pokemon, and honestly, these were probably the best ones yet. If you haven't checked out my Cursed or Poison-type run, I highly recommend that you do so. They were a lot of fun, and if you want me to do more challenges in this game, let me know what kind of type or just any topic you would like to see. But for now, I'm just going to thank every single one of you for watching my videos over the years, because me and my girlfriend have just been able to buy a house, and it wouldn't have been possible without any of you. So thank you so much. You can follow me on Twitter for more updates like that, and of course, I also want to thank my sponsor of the video, Skillshare. Definitely consider checking them out in the description below. And the last few people I want to give a huge shout out to are my members and Patreon supporters for supporting me over the years. Of course, if you want to help me too, you can sign up in the description. It is not needed at all, but very much appreciated. Now with all of that out of the way, people, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'm zwiggojr, and I'll see you guys next time.